Episode 21 of Fist of the North Star, 1 point. The keyword for this episode is going to be darkness. This episode is, in my opinion, very special because it feels different, doesn't it, compared to arguably every other episode of the series. The narrator speaks differently. The episode is introduced and concluded differently by the narrator. There are some weird things also going on, as in visually. Now, in this analysis series, let's say, I try to avoid talking as much as possible about, let's say, the obvious things going on, as in describing what happens in the episodes, and also the visual things. I try to go for the subtle things, right? So it's quite the opposite that I'm doing. But you have a Grim Reaper, the image of a Grim Reaper on Southern Cross, and then the moon is like a skull. There's a skull in the moon or something. Like, it's even visually very different. And the keyword for this episode is darkness, because I think even the narrator says that the shadow of death lurks upon Southern Cross. So, very special episode. Now, precisely what I want to talk about concerning this episode is that I will argue, I'd like to make the point that this episode is the one in which Shin comes across as good, as an opposite of evil, as he could. The darkness of this episode, the darkness that we feel in this episode is very visual, but it's especially because of Shin's men who want to rebel against him. Now, Kenshiro is not present most of the time in this episode. Kenshiro's out. Kenshiro's not here because of what happened in the previous episode. Now, Shin's men rebel against him. They conspire in the dark and so on, even visually. And then, at some point, it seems Shin is defeated too. So, it seems the whole world now is in chaos, in darkness. Shin is out, Kenshiro is out. The evil people are going to get Yuria. Yuria is in danger. So even Yuria's light, if you want to see that as light, is out too. And in that moment, Shin appears with light. That's the way it's visually represented. In my opinion, that represents Shin's deepest light. As much as the character is chaotic and is within chaos, as we talked about this a lot in the previous videos, that's the bit of deep light he has within, because essentially he's a martial artist who practices the Nanto Seiken, the counterpart of the Hokuto Shinken. We discover in the later episodes too that it has a noble responsibility and role, and Shin kind of lost his mind in this horrible epic. But originally, he's a good guy, let's say. He's Kenshiro's friend. Now, I think that in this episode, here's what happens in this episode. When around Shin, everything becomes dark, when there is total, absolute darkness, Shin's goodness comes out. Kenshiro is out. Yuria is in danger. His own men come against him. Now, this is even the way it's represented visually. Shin's light, his deepest goodness comes out, which is why the episode is concluded in kind of a romantic way, as in Shin saves Yuria, and even Shin's men say, they were his men, let's say, those rebels say that they're not going to treat Yuria as kindly as Shin used to. Now, Shin actually is, let's say, he comes across a good guy in this episode, if I may say. And at the end of the episode, they even kiss, Shin and Yuria. It's kind of like, whoa, what's going on? But then Yuria doesn't forget about everything that Shin has done so far and tries to kill him, maybe by biting or by poisoning him, whatever. So that's what Shin is, and he's going to be, and antagonists in general are going to be depicted as such in this anime. He's not the Hidebu kind of antagonist, as I like to call them, those criminals, bandits we don't even know the names of, because it doesn't matter, right? The Hidebu antagonists, evil criminals, I call them, to distinguish them to the main antagonists, who are depicted as lonely, sad warriors, men, because that's what they were. Shin just accumulated the mistakes. He didn't realize what he was doing, but deep inside he was a lonely, sad warrior. And this episode, in my opinion, is a very good representation of that.